Hey guys, what's up? Week 179, and let's start this out with the contest drawing for Mikey and Split Second MVD, both sealed. So I had about 62 entries. I'll show you everybody's name on the page right here. Hopefully that shows up for you. And I am going to use a randomizer because I'm not cutting up and drawing out of 62 names. So this is, I don't know, random UX, and all I have to press is this little return button, so 1 through 62, and number 55 is the winner. So let's see what happens here. Who's number 55? Boom, boom, boom. It is Tone Joker. So I will email it to you ASAP. Is 55 on there? Just want to double check. Yep. So congrats, man. Hope you enjoy the prize. And I guess we're going to hop into the reviews. I have a bunch of reviews, and the update's huge. So I guess we'll start off with Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. And I should state before, this whole week is Asian cinema except 2 movies. I kind of did do the Asian theme thing. The first movie will not be Asian, obviously, Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, and the last one, The Blindspot. But this first one here is Massacre in Dinosaur Valley from 1985, and I had actually covered this before. So this would be like a third time watch for me. I seen it years ago when the Shriek Show DVD came out, because I'm a big jungle adventure Italian horror film fan, and then I rewatched it again for 1985, and it was one of these ones that people considered kind of a lesser latter-day jungle adventure movie, not up to snuff with, some of the big heavy hitters. And that's funny because I just talked about a cannibal jungle adventure movie last week in Primitives that Severn also put out. So Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. First, this one plays almost like greatest hits or a parody of a lot of the other cannibal films beforehand, because we're in the latter-day cycle, right? We're in 88, 89, so 85, sorry, what am I talking about? The other one was, I just got done saying it was 85, but 85, so it's later for these movies, so it feels like almost greatest hits of, but that doesn't deter my enjoyment of it. Okay, first and foremost, this is a very sleazy exploitation movie. It is completely a guilty pleasure, not the guilty pleasure that you think it's bad, just a guilty pleasure that it has no, really, intelligent redeeming qualities about it. It's complete exploitation. It's complete fun is really what it is. And some of the stuff is really sleazy and pushes the boundaries. So we have an archaeologist who is in, someplace in South America where all these movies take place. It's played by Michael, what is his name? Sopkin, who's in a bunch of these. He's in like 4 Italian horror movies, and that's pretty much all he's in, or genre films. He's in Fall of New York 2019 or something by Sergio Martino. He's in Devilfish by Lamberto Bava. He's in Blast Fighter by Bava. And of course, he's in Massacre at Dinosaur Valley. So these are pretty much his 4 films. So he's basically an archaeologist that's traveling, and he hears about this plane that's going to stop down or pass through Dinosaur Valley, which he wants to get to because they have a lot of crazy kind of it's never really been explored, and it's a good chance for him to get some bones and do some research. There is a pretty professional archaeologist going there with his daughter, and on the plane also consists of a vacationing older couple, one of which is a Vietnam vet who's nuts, and his wife that he can't stand, and a photographer who takes pictures of supermodels and a couple supermodels. So all these people are on the plane. They end up on the plane. Of course, it crashes, which is one of these things that always happens in these movies. Eli Roth would use it in Green Inferno. And so they crash into the jungle, and of course, they have to survive the crazy, crazy things that they face. And in these movies, it's everything. You know what I mean? And this one, like I said, it feels like the greatest hits. Of course, they run into a hostile tribe that eats hearts. They're not really necessarily cannibals. This isn't like Cannibal Holocaust or Ferox, where the main focus is on cannibalism. There is a little bit, of course. So they run into a violent tribe. They run into quicksand. They run into piranha. And it's everything. White slavers. It's almost every possible little thing you can think of in these cannibal movies. It happens in here. And it shares this same year, another one came out, Amazonia, and it kind of had a similar kind of feel to it. But that one, I would say, is a little bit more on the serious side. The music in Massacre in Dinosaur Valley is awesome. It sticks in my head. It's really pulse pounding, and I really dig it. this one is, like I said, vastly enjoyable. It's very violent, very sleazy, lots of nudity, lots of perversion, all that kind of stuff. It just every chance it gets, it shows skin, which it becomes so shameless it makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, I know what they're doing. It just like it brings a smile to my face because I just think it's funny, and also I'm probably a pervert, so I don't care. It's just you watch enough of these movies, you know exactly what it is, and it almost just becomes fun for me. But like I said, there's some really nasty stuff in here as well. There's some animal cruelty, of course. I mean, but am I mixing this up with last week? You know what? I don't think there's that. There's some cockfighting. That's about as extreme as it gets in comparison to a lot of the other cannibal movies. And I think that cockfighting scene is actually cut out of the '88 films version. So this version is fully uncut. So there is the cockfighting stuff, which isn't like as bad as you would think in a movie like Cockfighter. It's much worse than that or anything. Any of the other cannibal movies is very tame in comparison. So like I said, it plays like a greatest hits. But by the end of the movie, they get to this white slaver scene, and that scene's actually probably some of the ugliest stuff in the movie. The bad guy looks like if he were Raymond Burr if Raymond Burr had been staying up all night looking at internet porn. That is how the bad guy is, the slaver. He has these bags under his eyes, and he has this evil smile. He's also he's really effective. I really think he's a sleazebag. But of course, there is kind of a dose of misogynistic shit in here with the guy at the end in the cage not letting the woman down. But anyways, I find it really enjoyable. People get picked off by all sorts of ridiculous ways. The Vietnam vet guy, his whole little situation where he's like basically drooling over the pretty girls and his wife's yelling at him constantly for it. I love that. So there's lots of weird shit in here, but it's like the greatest hits of the cannibal movies. There's an interview with the lead actor, and he talks about how he got involved in these Italian movies, how he basically had to get around his parole officer, which is a nice story. But the better interview on here, I think, is from Dardano Sacchietti. I probably mispronounced his name, but he wrote for Fulci, and he's one of the best Italian writers. And he talks about this director kind of, throwing away a lot of his script about the dinosaurs in it and all that kind of a giallo in the jungle. And you're like, oh, that sounds like a really kind of classy, although kind of crazy movie at the same time. But he basically talks about how this director was more interested in showing skin, and that's all he became interested in. And he said he was easy to work with, and I liked the guy, but he always did this kind of thing, so it's kind of expected from him. Anyways, it looks really good and sounds good, and like I said, I can't, the soundtrack, the score for this movie is much better than it deserves. Although I love the movie, most people would think that the score is probably the highlight of the film. But yeah, I would really recommend checking this one out if you haven't, imported the '88 films, or if you really want to get the uncut version, go with the Severn version. You guys probably might, if somebody has the '88 version one, let me know if it is cut, the cockfighting scene, which I think it possibly is. Anyways, love Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, highly recommended. It's not for everybody, but if you like jungle adventure movies, you like them sleazy and cheesy and fun, and also kind of exploitative, then very exploitative, get Massacre in Dinosaur Valley.
What's wrong?
Piranha!
Oh, God, no!
Cow. Now we're going to have every aquara in the territory down on our backs.
Watch your mouth. Call me a son of a bitch again, you're dead. You hear me?
John! Oh, God!
I'm afraid we're going to crash.
get out of jail. I'm on parole. And the parole officer tells me I gotta find a job. So I said, okay, I think I'll be an actor.
Faccio il lavoro migliore del mondo, faccio il regista, giro le scene che mi piace in mezzo alle belle ragazze, eccetera, eccetera, eccetera.
Okay, these next two from Arrow Video are Black Test Car and what is it, Black Report. And I have never seen these. These are two 1960s black and white movies, kind of by a director who has a lot of, weight. Hey, what's the director's name? It's just like at this point, like I don't even try to memorize it because I'm just going to butcher it. But he's Yasuzo Masamura, and he also directed The Blind Beast. Yeah. So like that's kind of his, the bigger one that came out that Americans kind of knew. So let's start with the black, Black Test Car. I want to say Black Test Report. Black Test Car. Okay. So like I said, I put this in, and I really didn't know what to expect. It said a spy espionage movie, and it was about the automotive industry and everything like that. So, but really what I got was a tale about losing your humanity in this kind of situation to crawl up the corporate ladder. Maybe a say on capitalism or that kind of deal or something like that. But it was actually really well made, really well acted. So the beginning opens up with a group of guys testing this car, and it crashes, and all these reporters snap pictures of it, and in the newspaper, it's kind of bad-mouthing this company and everything like that, and they start to dig deeper and realize that it was a competitor, a bigger competitor, who's kind of like the big dog of the area, spying on them and kind of manipulating the papers and everything like that. So you find out that they're kind of developing this new sports car, and they want to keep it under wraps, and the other corporation is also developing a sports car that seems similar to theirs, so it becomes this giant game of cat and mouse espionage where they're spying on each other and planting mics and using, like, there's traitors and everything like that. It's a lot kind of like The Departed in a way, like, but except in the automotive industry and this Japanese kind of deal. But there's a main character in here who's trying to climb up the ladder, and it's kind of about him losing himself, where he has this girlfriend that he tries to manipulate to do things, unspeakable things to get information, and it's just how low they will sink and what they will lose to get it and everything like that. And by the end of it, it's a decision what the character makes. I really thought this was well made, well acted, interesting movie. And like I said, there's a couple scenes in this where they portray one female character where I was like, this guy he has portrayed a female character in this movie so evilly that I was like, I almost felt like this guy has a problem with females for a second, because there's this character who is just completely all about the money and just awful. But more so, there is a sympathetic character that's female in here too, which I would actually kind of counter that argument in this one. But anyways, it's a really well-made movie, and there's a special feature on here that has a kind of an expert talk about the director's films, but focuses more on this one and everything like that. And I thought that was interesting, and it was very good for a novice on this guy's movies, because I love Arrow Video, so I'm always focused on them, but they release a lot of things that I'm not as familiar with as I should be. But I love that they're focusing on a lot of Asian cinema, because if you guys know, I am not as I haven't seen as many Asian films as I should have, and usually I like a lot of them and I buy a lot of them, but a lot of the United States companies at this point, besides Wellgo, they don't really focus on Asian cinema. I think it's harder for the United States distributors to make deals with the Asian companies, and Arrow, being in the UK, is closer to the source, and they release a lot of this stuff. But I think it's really a shame, like I said, I'll probably repeat myself here, that there's so many, Hong Kong movies or Chinese movies or Japanese movies that we never even get to see or even hear of. And some of them may be considered, extreme or different or transgressive, but we didn't even get a chance to see them at the time. They're kind of in the underground still. So, yeah, anyways, Black Test Car, which is not that. It's not an underground movie. Is really well made.
そろそろやるか、スピードテスト。回した。パイオニアは俺の生命、長年の夢だ。ミケランジェロのデザインを完全に盗まれて敵のスパイに出し抜かれるなんて恥だぞ。ヤマトはね、新車を作ってますね。パイオニアの秘密を守っていても無駄だ。俺は何も知らん。知らん？知ったばっかりなスパイにしてるんだ。今日からみんな全力を挙げて ヤマトの新車の正体を探り出そう。これで社内のスパイが割れるんだ。
人を騙したいものを盗んだ。
人を殺してまで守らなければいけないんですか？僕たちは刑事ですか？産業スパイさ。
Okay, so the next one on here is Black Report, and I think I like this one just a tad bit more because it's more of a courtroom drama. We have a murder that takes place, and we have the prosecutor, and it's basically making a big statement on how they're underfunded and what they have to go against and everybody that they have to go against and everything like that, and how the defense lawyers and they're so overswamped. It's definitely making a statement on how it's a flawed justice system where, they don't make the statement on the other hand that, innocent people go to prison. They're making a statement that, the prosecutors don't have enough funds or time to deal with anything. So we have this young up-and-comer a prosecutor who gets this murder case, and they're thinking, oh, this is a pretty simple case, there's not going to be much problem. But the defense, the guy in the defense, basically defendant, gets this really kind of older, really clever lawyer. And at first we're seeing like an open shut case. He's interviewing all these witnesses and they're all complying and all saying things and it's all matching up, and like, we got this guy, we got his fingerprints, we got witnesses, we got motives, we got money motives and romantic affair motives, we got everything, we got him, dead to rights. But after a while they start to kind of pull the strings. The older guy is similar to Black Test Car and kind of manipulate the systems where we think that it's not going to be as easy as we once thought. And a lot of this is kind of police procedural courtroom drama stuff, but they portray a couple characters in here so evil. Like at the courtroom, you actually start to get frustrated as the prosecutor because he's literally losing his mind at some of these people. He's like, but you said this, and it's very frustrating. It's a look at that kind of situation and the pressure. Both movies are kind of pressures of being young and up and coming and try to make a name for yourself and do the right thing in the face of all these wrong things. Anyways, I thought this one was really effective as well. Thought the acting was great. I noticed a couple of the same actors popping up in here. One playing a completely different role. In the first one, in Black Test Car, he was very evil and lost his mind, kind of. In this one, he is more, supporting role, but more, good. Better, nicer person. But anyways, one of these characters in here is just a monster in the courtroom. And they're, like, laughing at him and stuff, and the pews and everything. But anyways, really, in the bench, I should say, not pews. It's more of a church thing. But anyways, I really like this release. Both movies were good. The special feature on there with the interview was also informative. So that's Black Test Car and Black Report. Good stuff, and it was a first time watch for this director for me. So yeah, definitely, I have Blind Beast. I'll definitely watch it when I can. So I know it's kind of a cult item, and I know he has a bunch of other movies as well.
裁判長、鑑定書および証拠物の提出をお許し願います。検事さん、この壺でやったんですな。後ろから油断してるところをポカリと一発かましたんです。これは流しや叩きの仕事じゃありません。家の中も荒らされていないし、顔見知りの人間の犯行ですよ。必ず有罪の判決を取ってもらいたい。いつでも最良の証拠だよ。いつが特別な関係だったんだ。何を言っても無駄ですよ。弁護士に会うまで何にも喋りませんからね。頼む、本当のこと言ってくれ。罪滅ぼしに真相を話したらどうだ。この事件だけはどんなことがあっても捨てたくないんです。
All right, we got a couple reviews for you. We're going to start with Warning from Space, which is actually the first Japanese science fiction film made in color.
Yeah, so it's not Prince of Space.
This is also the same company that released Black Test Car and Black Report and Gamera. So that's pretty cool. I couldn't think, what is it, Dai or Dai or something like that? Because every time I think of Japanese cinema, the companies you think are Toei and Toho. And then this is another big kind of company in here, I imagine, if they release Gamera. So, okay, this one started off with a lot of promise. The streets look great, the set design, and it has that rich color, very rich color. They definitely took advantage of the color. So basically the plot of this one, if you want to kind of unfold it, it's basically the day the Earth stood still, Japanese style.
Yeah, it really is. there's an increase in UFO phenomenon, and lo and behold, there are UFOs, and they've come to give us a warning to, not set off nukes and eradicate mankind. And, nobody believes them. Well, Japan believes them.
But nobody else in the
Nobody else in the world does.
So there's this big argument, right?
So there's like, okay, well, fine. Well, also there's this evil planet coming to smack into your planet, so you better do something about that too. And Japan believes them, and the rest of the world's like, yeah, we'll be fine.
And they keep arguing with them about releasing this certain kind of recipe to make a bomb to defend themselves with. That's a lot of it. A lot of it is like espionage and people trying to get things and scientists arguing, and then it turns into like a disaster movie at the end where like the Earth's getting super hot and people are trying to survive. But the opening like had these weird starfish aliens that were kind of cool. Like you see them underwater and they're popping up for warnings. And I thought this would be more of and that's my fault, expecting something that's not in here. Like they'd be popping up and attacking people, but they're not really a threat. They're there for a warning, but they are absolutely hilarious looking, especially when they're out of the water. They're probably the cheapest aliens I've ever seen, besides straight like something like Octoman's not an alien, but he's probably the cheapest thing I've ever seen try to pass as a monster in a movie. But besides the stuff that we make, but the monsters are super cheap. At least they have a light on them, though. They're just like standing there.
Right. I mean, like it's literally just a person like standing with two poles for the arms, and they're in like a fabric star-shaped cutout. With a giant eye in the middle.
And it's great that they're actually like different sizes too.
Yeah.
They're different heights and guys. It reminds me of like Shuma Gorath and from Marvel and something from a Lovecraft story or something like that.
Yeah. They're pretty cool. And then like towards like after they introduced the starfish, for like, oh guys, these costumes look terrible. Let's just use regular people.
So they eventually transform into regular people to communicate, which is not a thing that we are unfamiliar with in science fiction films. Critters does it as well. The bounty hunters come down and they realize that they look weird as shit, so they're going to try to adapt to what the norm is on the planet. This one, to me, it starts off really well and it ends pretty strongly, but there is a big gap in the middle where it's just too talky, and I started to be like, I just don't care as much as I should right now.
Well, I mean, I don't even know if it's necessarily that it becomes too talky. It's just like, there's this plot element where one of the scientists is making this, I think it's called urium, and it's supposed to be like a more powerful atomic chemical. And, he has a formula made, and one of the aliens recognizes it as such, but they don't have the means to make it on Earth. So, then there's some foreign power who wants the chemical, like the formula, and he's going to pay him a lot of money. He's like, no, I won't do this, So they kidnap him. And nothing really happens with that foreign power. They just kind of like kidnap him and put him in a warehouse. They never get the formula. They just kind of go run off as the planet's barreling towards us.
It also has that plot point of like, or that moment, like this problem with me, where there's like three guys, all like scientist type, and they're all like the same character, and they all do different things. I'm like, I don't know who any of these people are. It happens in Manhattan Baby by Fulci, where it's like, we want three bearded men who all are scientists or some sort of psychological. I'm like, I don't know who these people are anymore. I've lost track. And they all treat their like their daughters or wives like shit. They're like, go do something. Give me a coffee. It's just like, this is the like, what, 50s Japan.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, see, like, I can handle the three scientists, because it makes sense to me. You got the telescope guy, the microscope guy, and the
kaleidoscope guy who's constantly, he's this high on LSD. No, I'm sorry. He's like, I experiment in LSD only.
But like the last 30 minutes of the film just really come to a stop, and it's because nobody knows how to stop the planet from coming. The nukes don't work once the countries agree to it, and the scientist that had the chemical is in a warehouse, and like,
you know what they should have done? They should get a mining crew and some astronauts together, launched them up to the planet to dig a hole in the middle and plant a bomb in there. Bruce Willis.
The 50s. We didn't have space travel yet.
Bruce Willis could have figured it out. Okay.
It's like like the way that they resolve this is just like in like the fucking 13th hour, the aliens come and we're like, where's the guy with the atomic chemicals? Like, we don't know where he's at. It's like, oh, we put a ring on him that we know exactly where he's at all times, and like I don't know why we didn't come and check on him sooner. Like
it's
20 days
what?
ago.
Is that an Ex Machina thing where it's just like out of nowhere?
It's not even an Ex Machina thing. It's like, what were you guys doing? Just like looking from your spaceship? I don't. And so they get the.
Well, they
get
met
the
up with the
doctor.
kaleidoscope guy, and shit got crazy. Yeah, this one, like, I think it's a good movie. It's obviously important, and there's probably people like listening that are like, if there is any listeners, they're like, this is awful. It's like, what are these guys talking about? You're more familiar with it. I think you appreciated it more than I did.
You kept dozing off.
No, I didn't. I just literally was like, I was staring at it, but I was just like, who's this guy now? Like, I don't know. I just lost track of it.
Well, and I think that it is because, like, especially the second half, after the aliens kind of, like, once they take a human form and they find the girl, the lead scientist alien, it does just sort of, like, stop. Like, they figure out that she's an alien, and that's when they get the message. And after we get the message, it's like, we're not going to do anything. Oh, here comes an evil planet. Well, we're not going to do anything. I've been kidnapped. It's like...
I mean, I would slightly recommend it. I just don't have much to say on this one in comparison. There's like 2 versions of the movie on there and everything, and it looks really good. It's a good-looking movie.
It's a very
especially
good...
for the 50s or early 60s, whenever it was.
And I mean, and you can see, its influences and what it's influenced since. It is very much the day the Earth stood still.
But it's not as poignant. Like the lines in Earth the day the Earth stood still just were like, wow. And also, they reused this whole entire argument in one of the Godzilla 1985, when, which is the is it Japan who doesn't want to use the nukes, and all the other countries want to use the nukes for once, and they argue, and they're just like, Japan's like, we stand, and like there's this big proud of Japan moment. That's in the Return of Godzilla version, but you know what I mean. Like it's a lot of these sci-fi cliches that we've seen so many times, but way before. Well, it's like it inspired, but it's inspired as well.
And the reason why the aliens come to Japan is because Japan, even up to this day, is the only country in which an atomic bomb was detonated in an act of aggression. I mean,
that's fake.
They
that
have
never
that.
Happened. I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, but
that's
they
next.
have...
People are gonna start saying that never happened.
Right, but they have that experience, and I think that with that event that happened in history, it really has influenced
everything.
Like Japan's, like their nationalism. Their sense of identity. It shows up in their media, their films, video games. It is like, like they alone were faced with that aggression, necessary or not. I don't want to get into like the history and the debate of that, but it was a defining factor of who they are then and even now.
Yeah, it's anyways, like I said, I like the movie. It's a nice release, but I just wasn't super into it as well. You?
I liked it. I really would trim that last bit.
Maybe the American version is shorter, actually.
Maybe. It's just like the whole the nukes, they got rid of all the nukes, and then like the planet's coming. It's like it really just comes out of nowhere. And like I said, the way that they resolve it was, we need the tension, so we kidnap the scientist. Everybody's getting all warm and bothered by the...
Hot and bothered? They're going through menopause.
By the
Earth's going through menopause. They're getting all hot and bothered.
Yeah, because like as the planet's come, like the sky turns red, the water boils, and it's like... It was just like, it was unnecessary, because like the aliens knew where the doctor was, like...
Yeah, I understand.
And then they at the very last minute, they're like, oh, we got the doctor, here's the formula, let's just make it on our spaceship, because we have the means, and we'll eradicate the planet. It's like, why didn't
pointless, really? Yeah,
because...
I'm good on this one. I think we've been through this a couple times already, so...
Yeah. And then I was like... When they find out, when the one space alien finds out about the formula, the urium, it's like, oh, our society used it, a long time ago in the past, and it destroyed us. It's like, well, you guys knew how to make it.
It doesn't make sense that the fact that they're like, don't use this formula, it destroys you, and then they come back like, this is the only formula that can save you. It's just like, what the fuck?
But then, like, why did they need the formula? Why couldn't the aliens just make it on their spaceship if they already knew how to make it and, save Earth that way? It was stupid. It was very, convoluted. Very contrived. I wouldn't even say convoluted. I would say contrived.
I got you.
Like, but it's worth a watch. It is. it's a fun film for the most part. Some neat special effects, neat costumes. I'd probably, though, really only give it like a 3 out of 5.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
3 out of 5.
東京湾の埠頭に華やかな舞台に
聞いていただきます。皆さん、残念ながら世界会議から私たちの書簡を黙殺してきました。理由はパイラ人の存在を確認しないというのです。
人類の友かはたまた敵か、謎の優勢パイラより飛来した宇宙人はなぜ日本人に姿を変えたか。
地球の皆様、地球の皆様。
折しも地上の万物を紅に染めて地球壊滅の危機をはらんで刻一刻地球に迫る死の優勢。
先生、しっかりしてください。地球を救うのには先生のオリウム元素より他にありません。この旋律、この恐怖、最高の技術と科学の粋を集めて大英カラー総天然色で描く空想科学映画「宇宙人東京に現る」。
Okay, these next two are both by director Hisayasu Sato, and I actually watched this one without knowing there was a release. I completely forgot about it. So then right when I found out there was a release and I watched it, I was like, well, I'm buying this. I feel bad for not having the release. I didn't know. It is Lolita Vibrator Torture. So yeah, this is from the, what is this label here? This is the Nikatsu Erotic Films Collection, and I have a bunch of these, but I haven't dived into them like I should, and I need to pick up the rest of them. I think I need, there's like 40 of them. I need like 30 more or something. So there's quite a bit. So this director, if you guys remember, for 1991, I covered two of his movies, Honey Sweet Juice, Honey or so, and Tunnel Vision. And then, yeah. And I also know that I have seen Splatter Naked Blood or whatever you want to call it. So this director, after this week, I have to say that I enjoyed all his movies so far. And Lolita Vibrator Torture, don't be put off by the name. I know the name sounds just like a fetish film, and this is a little bit of that. It just sounds like really low-grade, trashy stuff. It's a kind of title that you would kind of be embarrassed to speak of or review, because literally there's not many reviews of the movies. There's nobody really talking about it. There's no real trailer. I'm trying to look on information on this movie, and I think it's more looked at by most people that haven't seen it as a porn film. This is a really dark, pinky movie. So we have this girl who's out and about looking for a missing person. She's basically posting his pictures of this young man, saying, have you seen him? She's in her schoolgirl outfit, and she's approached by this photographer who seems really kind of strange, and he's taking pictures of her and taking pictures of the surrounding area. And he starts to talk to her, and they start to strike up a conversation. And we soon learn that this guy is a serial killer, and we start to witness some of his murders. And his method of murder involves a dildo and poison. He's clearly impotent. Like, you kind of figure that out right away, that there's this aggressive kind of impotency. And again, that seems to be an MO with a lot of these killers. Like Arthur Shawcross seemed to have that kind of problem. So all these kind of, it's like there's a little bit of reality in all these cases, that a lot of these killers, these movies, it makes it dirtier. So his MO is, what he does is he's some sort of artist. He's a photographer. So again, we have this voyeuristic approach during the murders. He has this, this camera that he's constantly taking the pictures. And again, it kind of does this long statement that I've noticed in his movies. They're either experiments or impotent men, like Honey Sweet Juice, or this voyeur quality with art, mostly film, but this one it's photography, where he takes the pictures of them while he's, raping them with the dildo. And the poison kicks in eventually, and first it's like white drool, and then the blood starts coming out, and these flashes, and they're going back and forth. And the first one I saw of that, the first murder, I said, wow. I said, geez, man, it was just really kind of took me back, and I said, that's really intense. That's some really intense stuff right there. I was just kind of surprised and everything like that. And the pictures of his victims are all over his walls and everything like that, so he is clearly highly demented. And he kind of disposes the body with some sort of acidic thing in tubs, which is a Jeffrey Dahmer thing, even though this was before Dahmer, so it's like, man, it's just like this kind of serial killer, puzzle on all these people. There's these little bits of every, they're all different, but they're all the same. You take a little bit of this one, a little bit of this one, and mix it to this, and they're all just creepy and just messed up psychology. And I'm into these movies where they kind of focus on these characters' psychology and all their weird sexual kinks and stuff like that, like psychosexual. This, again, is more like a fetish part too. So anyways, he starts this relationship with this girl, and of course he's going to do the same to her, but he realizes that she has a dildo with her, and that kind of triggers him to think, you're a pervert too. And so he doesn't want to kill her. So they start this relationship, they start to talk to each other, and they start to play a little bit of mind games. Well, talking about the missing person, and you realize that she's not right, and he's definitely not right. We already know that. But by the end of it, there is kind of a switch, and I really like that. I really like that his movies, you can't really trust anyone, or you never know who is going to be, in charge at any time. But the ending I thought was really good. I thought that the, attention, the art being, exploited and put out there and stuff was also a message. But anyways, this isn't just, a fetish film, although they go there into those places, where there's dildo acts performed on a lot of women, dildo rape, which is unpleasant as hell, and then there's also a sexual scene where, he's impotent, but she uses the dildo on him as well, which was kind of crazy. Anyways, this director has these perversities in his movies that, they make me feel dirty and weird, but he goes a lot of places that other people don't, which I really like, and they're about an hour long, which also at the same time I enjoy, because there's so many movies that tell the same story, not this story, but they tell a simple story or a story we've seen 100 times in 2 hours, and it's just like, what was the point of any of this? This movie says what it needs to say, and it says something. It does actually say something. So that's why, like, when I watch something like this over Lady in the Sea of Blood, which is just a lady in a sea of blood, I'm like, this isn't a story, this isn't anything, this isn't for me. This is for me. There's a story, there's a weird message in here, and although maybe some people would say it's simple, or we didn't need to go there to get it, to see the message, I enjoyed seeing it. And say what you want, I like these kind of weird transgressive cinema movies if it's not just for the sake of showing it. But of course it does when they have the scenes of sex and fetish stuff. They go on longer than any other normal movie. But so anyways, Lolita, Vibrator, Torture, I thought it was really good. Something that I would recommend, very good. Okay, the next one by Sato is Celluloid Nightmares. Not to be confused with the 1999-1998 movie Celluloid Nightmares, aka Muzani. This is a different movie. Celluloid Nightmares. This one was great, too. It opens up with kind of this video, basically this woman, you see this footage of like an arm sitting inside like a canister, and it pulls out, holding like a tape or something, and then we see this woman having sex with somebody, and she's watching the tape. And she is like, I believe, a reporter, and she's kind of becomes obsessed with this case, that they found this tape and everything, becomes obsessed with this tape. And there's also this other main character in here who works in like a porn shop, and he's become obsessed with these tapes that are showing up in the porn shop that are these violent, you know, kind of pornographic things, but they're not real porn. They're really just kind of torture, like the rape videos or something like that, where it's showing people like filming by the camera, again voyeur, again perversity, watching, and it's somebody in pain getting tortured, and it's supposed to be fake, but he's staring at it, he's obsessed with it, and at a point where he thinks that this woman is in pain, and he becomes infatuated with her. Like, he must see who she is. He's absolutely infatuated with her. Not to mention that he is having a love affair with his sister, which is really kind of crazy, and she's constantly wanting to have sex with him, but he's always obsessed with this cinema, this weirdness. So he works in this porno shop along with two other people who are directly tied into this, one being a director, one being a former actress in it, and of course he meets up with the reporter, and they start to do a little bit of investigation on these tapes and where they come from and these murders, and they seem to all be kind of interrelated, and he witnessed some things and all that stuff. But there's some unique things about the movie that I thought were really kind of tremendous, and the fact that basically making a statement that the camera is the weapon. The camera is the weapon because the weapon is within the camera. There is a knife that comes out of this camera. So it's just like that voyeur thing. The camera is a weapon. The knife in the camera is it's all together. You know, that is their weapon, is the camera, and metaphorically and literally. And the idea that there's something sexual about that camera, that voyeur, that knife. It just all ties in really well, and it's just like, this is really perverse shit. And the idea of these fake snuff films popping up is scary too, and the infatuation that the characters have with it. So there is a review I read online, and after I read that one line, I just put this all together, and I was like, oh, duh, it's still perfect. It makes sense. They said, all cinephiles are perverts. You read it here first. And which is very funny to me, because there's another movie this week that I'll be talking about where that I agree with that line to a certain extent. All cinephiles are perverts. That all film directors are crazy. So this whole idea is he's obsessed with it, and there's a bunch of twists, and some people aren't who they say they are, and people end up dead, and it's really kind of disturbing, all these snuff films, but the ending's crazy. And it shows that once that person gets that power, once that person gets that camera, they're not the same. And that's how I'll kind of leave it. Once they have their kind of, can't separate that. Anyways, this is a great movie. All his movies have a certain aesthetic look that I really like too, and every one of them has a rooftop scene on the same frickin' rooftop. I'm pretty sure all of them do. But anyways, Celluloid Nightmares, man. Great stuff if you're into these weird Japanese films. Again, runs only a little over an hour, and I was really impressed with this too. This Sato guy, I'm going to watch the rest of him. He's got so many different movies. He's got pinky movies too, but he has like gay pinky movies too, which I'm interested in, like murder mystery, like gay giallo. I was just confused, like how many different kind of ways and avenues he went with the film. Anyways, he just tackles all sorts of things that a lot of people wouldn't tackle, and a lot of fetish or softcore erotica filmmakers wouldn't tackle. These aren't just that. These are different. These are dark and weird, and he's going places other people wouldn't go. Maybe they're made for perverts. I don't know. Maybe I'm a pervert. I don't know, but I'm going to watch the rest of them, and hopefully if they ever get released here, I'll be buying them immediately. So yeah, this one, Celluloid Nightmares, fantastic as well. Okay, now we have 4, I believe, Korean 2020 movies, all available on Shudder. I'm going to be a little bit more brief with these, I think. The first is Monstrum. Okay, this is an epic period piece monster movie, which is freaking awesome. So I'd be a little more vague on a lot of the details on these movies, because you got to think, watching all these movies that share similar themes and stuff kind of blurred together a little bit, and I am not the most intelligent person. But anyways, Monstrum. Okay, I really love this movie, first and foremost. It was basically Korea's answer to Brotherhood of the Wolf, which is a really cool movie to me. Part war film, part, period piece drama, part monster movie. So I'm into it. So we have this character who's kind of exiled years ago for kind of discovering that one of the general is a crooked monster, and he's kind of betraying the emperor. They excommunicate him. Years down the line, he's kind of made a life for himself. He had saved one of the people that was to be slaughtered, and him and his brother kind of are living on the outskirts as almost kind of like two goofier people that people don't take seriously. He is approached by that emperor who says, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I need your help to expose this general, and let everyone know that this monstrum that everyone's scared of, this monster that is supposedly ravaging the countryside and spreading plague, is not real. So they go in and start. He kind of comes back, and they form an army, and the general sends his personal army with them along with them, and they start to kind of look into the thing and try to find this monstrum. And it seems that there is some sort of dirty things going on, that some of the victims seem to be just cut up to pieces as it was done by a sword or a knife. So we kind of figure that the general is killing people and trying to sow a bunch of mistrust and hate around for the emperor, so he can take his spot. But there was also these people that seem to have some sort of bubonic plague bumps on them and everything like that. So there's something else going on, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I did kind of already. So don't watch the rest of the review. I'm not going to tell you characters die, but I'm going to bring up, some of the points in here. So go to the next review if you don't want anything spoiled. But anyways, there turns out to be a monster, which I absolutely loved. And I don't know if that's a spoiler necessarily, but this monster ends up, his backstory is brilliant. I love his backstory. I love that it ties in with someone. I love that we have a flashback with the monster, and it's so adorable when it's young. But anyways, the monster is big. It is CGI, but I think it's effective, and it attacks villages, knocks people over. The end is big. It's a big war film, and the monster's eating people, and people get their just desserts and everything. And it does end on a happier note than one might expect, but I really liked this movie. I thought it was great. I thought the set designs were great. The period piece stuff, the actors and the characters were very cool. The fight scenes were great. The monster was great. I just really liked this movie. I think it's really damn good, and it's one of the best of 2020 I've seen. It's on Shudder. Check it out. It's Monstrum.
여기가 물개의 통진로 같습니다.
물개가 실로 있단 말이냐? 물개는 있습니다.
발톱 자국이나 진액을 발견하거든 속히 구하라.
문을 닫아야 합니다. 시간이 없어요.
Okay, the next one from Shudder, Korean film as well, is Metamorphosis, or Metamorphosis. I believe it's Metamorphosis. Okay, so anyways, this is a Korean exorcist film. Right? You never heard that. First and foremost, I'm going to say the best part of this movie is the cinematography, the lighting, the composition. Everything about that is fantastic. The colors, the depth, all that stuff looks great. The set design. Personally, it's one of the best professionally made movies of the year, I would say. The acting's top notch as well. This is a big kind of family drama that runs about, an hour, almost 2 hours long. So we have this priest who made a failed exorcism. Nothing new there. And he's been excommunicated kind of by everyone. Everyone hates him. He wants to leave the church. His family feels shame. They are kind of forced out of town and must move. And some of them share some resentment towards the priest. They move into this house, and the neighbor seems to be a problem. He seems to be almost satanic and stuff like that. The family consists of 3 kids, 2 daughters that are around the same age, a younger son, a wife, and a husband, of course. And the person next door kind of just causing problems for them. But it turns out that something deeper is going on. It seems that this demon or something has invaded their family and going to take many forms and manipulate them and play tricks on them. Eventually, they get a hold of their, his brother. He gets a hold of his brother, who is that priest, and he shows up and he tries to, exorcise everything. But there's some twists and turns, and you never know who they say they are. And the movie doesn't pull as many punches as you would expect. Like, I was like, okay, it's going to be that deal where we're a happy family at the end, but not necessarily. It gets a little darker than I expected. Some people died. There's one scene involving a furnace where I waited, and it stays on the furnace for a long time because they know what you're thinking. You're sitting there thinking it's going to be okay though, right? It's not going to be okay. And it wasn't okay. And I was like, oh. But anyways, the colors are great. Like I said, I just was it was a very good looking movie. It's the type to turn the lights off and just watch and focus, and you'll be drawn in because it looks damn great. I Exorcist movies aren't my cup of tea really, except some of the classic ones. But I thought this one was really good and better than I probably am even giving it credit for as far as the visual stuff. But I'm not huge into Exorcist movies in the first place. But anyways, check it out. I think it's a good movie, and I think it will make some people's top 10 list. It's a contender. So yeah, good stuff.
분노는 이성을 마비시키고 마지막 단계에서는 인간은 죽고 악마만 남는다는 거예요.
죽여버리라고. 누구야?
니들 어디를 키웠는데
어머니 집에 이상한 일이 벌어지고 있는 것 같아요.
다음에 누구 모습일지 알 수가 없어요. 그놈이야. 죽는 순간 우리 모두 끝장인 거예요. 어차피 쟤는 내 딸이 아니라며. 그러니까 잘못해도 아무 상관이 없어. 절대 믿지도 듣지도 마.
Okay, the next one from Shudder is Warning, Do Not Play. And it says a college filmmaker looks for a movie directed by a ghost. So again, we have this idea that, the Asian kind of fascination, geez, I can't talk, of technology and ghost stories. Stems back, Noroi the Curse. It feels like that's a little bit in there. Of course, The Ring, Pulse. So many stories, One Missed Call, almost all the heavy hitters, and all of them incorporate some sort of technology, the booth, within the ghost story. And I think that's unique about their stories. So, Warning, Do Not Play is kind of a crazy... you know how I mentioned earlier that Celluloid Nightmares says that all cinephiles are perverts? This one says that all filmmakers are crazy. So, we have this kind of struggling filmmaker. She's kind of got a good reputation, and she's looking to make her next movie. She's got pressure, and she's kind of doesn't have any ideas. She has writer's block, so she starts to ask questions around about ideas. One of her friends tells her this story about years ago about this film being made and the theater burned down and all sorts of strange things. And so she starts to dig into it, goes to the college and asks some of the kids around. There's a really funny scene where all three of the kids are answering at the same time, and it's played very funny, where she's kind of asking these film students, these nerdy film students about it, and they kind of tell her the story, and it appears that there was this haunted idea. I can't remember exact details in the story, but anyways, this filmmaker went to go make a movie about it or make something about it, and it seems that the film had disappeared and someone died watching it, and so she starts to ask online and social media about it, and the filmmaker contacts her and says, don't delete this post. She says, I will if you meet me. And it turns out that this filmmaker has gone nuts from this movie. This movie has ruined his life and everything like that. So she starts to dig deeper. She steals the file from his hard drive, gets the hard drive, and that kind of opens up the gates and everything like that. And she goes to the area where it was shot, and she becomes part of the film. It gets really weird, and she's part of the film filming in as if she was the original cinematographer. It's really strange and weird and becomes very mixed up. And the ending of the movie, it leaves it open that, somebody had made a film with it. I don't want to spoil it, but anyways, I thought that was interesting what they said at the end, and the idea and the I guess the circular story structure or something like that. But anyways, it was interesting. Again, it looked really good, and I was impressed with it. It's not perfect. It's a little bit, at times, at some point, it started to lose me a little bit towards the end, where I was starting to get a little sleepy. Maybe I'm just very old, too. But I thought it was effective and interesting, and I think that there is something said in the movie, which I think appreciated as well. That's Warning, Do Not Play.
한 영화과 학생이 졸작으로 공포 영화를 찍어요. 근데 그 감독이 만든 영화가 진짜 무서웠던 거예요. 심장마비도 죽고 그럴 정도로.
그 영화 제목이 뭐야?
네가 내 인생을 공포 영화로 만들었어. 어때 내
Okay, this next one I believe is 0 megahertz. I think it's megahertz or however you measure sound. I'm terrible with this. Okay, I'm a dum-dum. And since it's a Korean movie, I couldn't actually hear him say it out loud. So obviously, the sound's probably not great on this because I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, this is another one on Shudder. Another Korean one, I believe. And this one, I feel like, is very kind of straightforward ghost story, more so than the other ones. We, again, have the college students, which is a lot like the last movie. And they're in this kind of like ghost hunting group. And they decide to go to this old village where there's this story about a woman who causes people to commit suicide. In the very beginning, we see the shaman who is forced to, commit suicide by this ghost. And the ghost is like the hair. She has something to do with long, dark hair and everything like that. And it's always making people hang and, that kind of way and forcing them to kill themselves. So they go here and they perform this ritual, which they shouldn't. And there's some older characters, some people from this club that were been there a while, and we have a couple fresh faces as well. We mostly focus on the fresh faces. I actually really enjoy those characters. The younger girl, the younger fresh face in here in the club, she actually has some ties into, kind of mysticism and magic and that kind of stuff, black magic from her family. So she knows a little bit more. So anyways, they perform this ceremony. And of course, they bring the ghost back. They do not, do what they're supposed to do, and they leave, and one of them becomes possessed by this ghost. And being around this ghost causing them to commit suicide. Again, that kind of ties into like Pulse, right? How like if you see the ghost, you kind of just kill yourself, and it's through technology. So there's just like a lot of these repeating qualities within these ghost stories. So anyways, basically what we have here is them trying to figure out how to stop the ghost and the ghost torturing them and using the hair. The CGI in here, it just looked weird, like it was supposed to be made for 3D or just cheap or just made on a budget. But for the most part, we have a decent, ghost story. This one is nothing too special or too different, but effective enough and does what it's supposed to do. I enjoyed myself, but I wouldn't give this like a super hearty recommendation. I think it's good, and I think if you're in for a spooky time, I think it's well made, and I think, the location's nice as well. But yeah, that's good stuff. And slight recommend. Yeah, it's good.
준비물은 똑같은 인형 2개. 이 인형은 일종의 미끼야. 귀신을 자극하는. 이제 귀신을 불러내기 위한 모든 준비는 끝났어. 리날레만 남은 거지. 혹시 아냐? 0.0 메가헤르츠를 직접 보게 될지.
0.0 메가헤르츠?
귀신을 부르는 주파수인 거지. 왔어.
윤종아.
야, 성아 씨!
그거야. 그 머리카락 귀신.
인형 나왔냐고!
한번 달라붙은 귀신이 끝까지 물어뜯는 법이라고. 살려줘. 제발.
Okay, the Patreon pick here is Ninja 2, or Ninja Shadow of a Tear, and it stars Scott Adkins, of course, and I had never seen the first Ninja. He told me I didn't have to see it, and this one I know has an infamous, when I was going in, I was like, there's an infamous fight scene at the end that everybody's got to see. So, okay, what we have here is a very typical, very straightforward story, and let me say this about these kind of movies. Basically, these kind of action martial arts movies, for the most part, you don't go in expecting like the most amazing story or anything like that. You want to know about the fights, and the lead character. You like, does he have charisma? Like some of the Van Damme movies, like I can get behind Van Damme. The fights are fun. I like Van Damme. And, also kind of want to know a little bit about the bad guys. One of the bad guys in this movie is actually played by the general from Tokyo Gore Police. He's in a bunch of movies. He's really good in this movie. He has a really cool weapon. But anyways, like I said, the plot's very straightforward. And it's going to have the twists and turns that you kind of expect. Scott Adkins is, happily married. He has a wife, and I believe it's Japan. She is pregnant, and she is murdered by a couple of thugs. He, has obviously self-control. He's always supposed to be that kind of, martial artist that has the self-control. He loses it, of course, because he just lost everything in his life, and he kills the thugs. He ends up going back to his friend in Thailand to train with him again and kind of find himself. But there's this kind of group that is directly correlated with the guys he killed, and he starts to realize that it was a bigger group of bad guys than he expected, or so he starts to focus on them. them, but they're making attacks on him, and some other people get killed in crossfire. Scott Adkins gets super prepared to go kill some people, and that's exactly what he does. Scott Adkins is one of my favorite martial artists now, thanks to Jason giving me all these movies to watch by him. I love him. His performance in this one is solid. It's not as good as something like Avengement or some of his other movies, where like the Undisputed films, where I think that he gets a little bit more range, and I think he's gotten a lot better. But I think he's decent in this one, and his fights are always great. So he has a lot of fights and lots of good stuff, and he finds like it also ties into this whole like ninja kind of thing in the beginning and the past and everything like that. And he of course becomes the ninja and dresses as a ninja and everything. I enjoyed all that. I said I dug the fight scenes. The bad guys were cool, and the ending. The end fight scene. There's a twist, and you knew right away this showdown was gonna have to happen in the movie, and it's really fun. People are flying through walls and everything like that, and getting knocked down. Anyways, I thought it was pretty good. And if you pay attention to a lot of these fight scenes and a lot of other movies, they'll cut. There's not that. That's the sign of a good martial artist in a movie. I don't want to be negative, but like in low budget movies, of course, if I'm in a fight scene in a movie, low budget, there's gonna be a lot of cuts. You know why? Because I'm not a fucking martial artist. But these guys, they're like bah bah bah, and they're just all oneers and slamming each other and picking each other up. It reminds me a little bit of the Shaw Brothers stuff. Although the Shaw Brothers stuff, they would grab like these crazy weapons and shit that you're like, I can't believe they're just flipping off these things. They're just doing real weird shit. Look, really dangerous actually. But these guys are taking hits through tables in this one and landed on shit. And I think it's Scott Adkins, man. I think he's taking a lot of these bumps himself. But anyways, really fun. If you're into martial arts, check it out. Good stuff. Entertaining. Does exactly what it's supposed to do. So yeah.
Yeah, and the baby.
Goro is somewhere inside the jungles outside Rangoon.
I'm going after him.
You're going to Burma. It's suicide.
It's justice. This is Goro's territory, isn't it? Hit me. Where's Goro?
Why are you asking about Goro?
This makes you a target. I'm telling you to live. A man who seeks revenge should dig 2 graves.
They're gonna need a lot more than that.
Okay, this next one here is Cello from 2005. We're jumping in that Survive 2005. And this is a Tartan Asian Extreme, or Asia Extreme. And I've never actually seen this one. I think when I updated it, I called it Cello, like a dumb fuck. But it's clearly Cello. I'm like, why did I do that? I read so fast or don't pay attention. I'm just like, yeah, Cello. Get the... Dave, you're dumb. Cello, like the musical instrument, dumb. Is there a cello on the case? Is that supposed to be that's a cello case? Okay, so I am an idiot. All right. Anyways, this one starts off, we kind of have this car accident in the beginning, and we see these flashes, but it's not really sure what the hell's going on. You kind of get these weird focal points. Anyways, it follows this I guess she's like a student teacher or semi-teacher. She's a cello instructor, a music instructor. I think she does music theory. She doesn't actually play anymore, if my understanding. So, pretty soon, in the very beginning, you see her family life. She has like her sister that lives with her, whose fiance is overseas. She has couple daughters, one of which seems to be autistic to a certain extent, and a loving husband. So she has a good family life. And basically this starts to get overturned and get crazy when she gives a bad grade to a student. The student confronts her, starts to yell at her, and she starts to get these text messages that says, "Are you happy? You should be," and all that kind of stuff. And this kind of starts her to degrade a little bit. Also the fact that she gets this maid that's working at her house that's completely silent, starts to bother her, and all sorts of strange things start to happen. You don't know exactly what is going on. It's definitely a weird kind of demented ghost story. As it goes on, you see her backstory unfold and what happened, and the manipulation and everything, and why she doesn't play the cello anymore. And anyways, but it's kind of typical in a lot of ways. The long dark haired characters that just immediately reminded me of the kind of ghost stories. This one I don't remember as much as I should, but I do remember quite a bit. But if the stuff I remember actually is complete spoiler stuff, like if I start to say exactly what's happening, it's more so like the unfolding of the story, because besides that, the way it unfolds and the twists and everything are a little bit different. But if I'm telling you all this, then it's pretty much just spoiling the entire movie, and I don't see the point to that. As far as a Survive 2005, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it looked good. I thought it sounded good. I didn't have many complaints about the film. I didn't absolutely love it or anything like that. I did find it a little typical. I thought the performance was good, and I thought the ending was, obviously setting it up for more of the same to occur. But anyways, I'm not going to go in super in depth in Cello, but I dug it, and I think these Tartan Asia Extreme movies are well worth checking out so far. I thought The Booth was a little better myself, though.
내가 그런 게 아니야.
생일 축하합니다.
엄마는 윤진이가 너무 고마워. 잊을 수 있을 거야.
아줌마, 문신 열어줘요, 아줌마.
All right, this next one. What's that face you're making?
I'm tired.
All right, this next one is Noroi, The Curse. This is 2005. It's the same director of what else did he do? He's kind of big. Oh, he did A Record of Sweet Murder, A Cult, and Cold. Some other movies I haven't seen. Have seen A Record of Sweet Murder. That is a fantastic movie that was released here last year. So Noroi, The Curse was a movie that had a big following. It was very popular. One of the better Japanese horror films or ghost stories was always explained to me, but it never really had a release in the States. Shudder put it out finally, so we can all check it out. It is a longer film, and it was one that was definitely on my list for 2005 to watch. It's obviously a heavy hitter, contender for best of the year. And, for years I avoided a lot of Japanese ghost stories because I was just, a douchebag when you're in high school. You're just like, I ain't watching it. I just didn't want to join another thing and get involved. There's so many films. But as I got older, I started knocking them off the checklist, the bucket list, and I've enjoyed almost all of them. The Ring, and I've grown to love Pulse. So when I put this one in, I was like, okay, I know it's going to be good. I don't know if I'll love it, but I most certainly will respect it. I have to say that this movie was fantastic. This might be one of the best ghost stories I've ever seen. It's a found footage, kind of, not found footage, but it's going over this documentary this filmmaker is making about...
Yeah.
He first starts focusing. He's kind of like a guy that does the ghost stories for television, and he gets involved in this case. This lady calls him and tells him that there's this weird baby crying next door, and there's no baby next door, and the sounds are driving her and her kid crazy. So he starts to investigate and tries to get involved with the neighbor, and she shoos him away. She's very strange. And at the same time, it seems like there's some sort of psychic or ghost phenomenon happening that is so powerful it's starting to, kind of bring out all the psychics are kind of freaking out. There's a schizophrenic man who is, and this young girl who kind of does these things. So it's like every psychic and ghost hunter in this vicinity is kind of going bonkers, and they're all interconnected. And the way the story is told is through this, found footage, this videotape that he has done. This documentary is going to play on television, and it does these beautiful moments, like you're watching a real documentary. Will say these person, or will have these characters, and like 2 days later they were found dead, and you're just like, oh shit. It's terrifying, in a lot of ways, but it has like a score as well. This is a great film. It's a it's procedural too, not police procedural, but it's a procedural like all these ghost stories are from Japan. Like The Ring is a procedural where you're figuring out what the fuck happened, and you're just watching all these characters backtrack and figure it out, and you figure it out with it. And this is one of the easiest to follow. Like if you just watch straightforward, you got to pay attention because every character is interconnected. But it's the one that's most straightforward to me, where it's like bits and pieces, and they set everything up so wonderfully. I know I'm talking a lot. You talk a little bit after this. No, but also the main character is fantastic. Love the main guy. He's not like he just fits perfect. He's not overacting. He's not over in it. He's just, I don't know, he just felt really genuine and great. And the score too. There's a score in here, and there's a point where this town is deserted, and I don't want to get into details about the town, but it's just playing this it's like Carpenter-esque, and I'm talking about like more so like that kind of dread, not like the synth stuff. It's a fucking fantastic movie.
It's great. Like the imagery in it is like genuinely terrifying. Like we're talking like the little ghost heads.
And everything comes together at the end too. You're like, what was that stupid thing? Oh, there it is.
There is like an old cult that like worships, or an old village that like worships like a local cult demon god thing. And it has like this like terrifying mask. There's the thing with the dogs, and like as it gets towards the end, like once you start getting all the pieces put together, it becomes genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, because everything's been almost a warning. Yeah, and like you're learning more and more, and like every little detail they talk about this character that they're actually end up looking for because they're a major piece to the puzzle, and they're almost directly correlated with everything that happens. Is that character's at the fucking center? When you realize that, you're like, they had her 2 or 3 times, but she got away.
Right, like she appears, early on, or one of the characters appears earlier on in the documentary. You don't think anything of it, and then
we're gonna probably spoil this one. So.
Yeah, and then towards the end, it's like, oh, she was earlier in the film, or like they had like the sickle. In the door.
And the warnings. And I was like, I bet if you rewind in the very beginning, I said, I guarantee she had a sickle hanging above her door because she's one of them. And if you would have, I guarantee this gets better on a rewatch too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just the characters are really good too. And like, that they're gonna have a awful demise, some of them. So you're just waiting for it to happen, and they set everything up. But also, did you register like, did you hear, like I was picking up on it early, wasn't I? Like I was like, that's that person. That's the vessel and stuff. And I was like, the birds too. And I was just picking up on all of it before. It was the first time, like a lot of these ghost stories, I like them and I enjoy them. It didn't seem confusing. It was just set up perfectly to the point where you could figure everything out if you paid enough attention. But it also wasn't super obvious.
Well, and I think the reason is this isn't a movie that I think was trying to give you a twist.
No.
It was trying to tell you a narrative, and it was giving you information, not to undermine the information given and twist the story, but to funnel everything into the conclusion, and I love that.
It was literally a puzzle where you're like, okay, we're just putting this together, and eventually, we got this over here. That's why did she work in a hospital?
Right.
They said she took the babies, and then later you're like, oh shit, that's why she took the babies.
Right. I think a lot of movies, are like predicated on like the idea that they need the twist, and so a lot of like the information in the first like 3/4 of the film gets undermined when it's not a police chase, it's a demon summoning thing. And so it's kind of like, well, why'd I watch all that if this is what this movie's going to be? This isn't that movie. It is very much matter-of-factly.
I liked all the characters too.
Oh, all the characters were fantastic.
And you feel the main guy's great. The schizophrenic's great. The girl kind of ghost hunter is also fantastic. Like I literally had worried about all these kind of characters in the movie, and the scene where they're going through the village and everybody has the dogs, and then when they go back to the village and all the dogs are gone, you're like, oh, and nobody's around. Like I said, that music kicks in and you're just terrified, you're horrified. I don't know, it's just creepy as shit and scary, and way better than so many of these ghost stories, American or not. And I see, I honestly don't want to spoil anything typically, but I feel like movies like Hereditary kind of took from stuff like this. Like, would you agree? Like stuff like that with the cult or the way it unfolds.
Yeah, I think that it's like if you take like the Hereditary story idea, but you shoot it in like the fashion of like Blair Witch or Last Broadcast.
Yeah, but it's more like Last Broadcast
Yeah.
than Blair Witch. And it's just that like you see the footage, like it's like this is a documentary film that was put together.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he put together, and we're going to show you the awful things that happen.
Right.
But then, like, there's a little note at the end that this character kind of, like, somebody came in and added some edited bits because the person who made it is not really there to be able to do it. I don't know. I think we talked enough. If you got other things to say about it, I don't. But, like, there's this weird thing, too, where some people might be a little put off by the idea that it's just like, why are all these characters, like, correlated at first? And you just have to think that this thing is so powerful. And it would be if what they're saying is happening, that these people are all basically going to be affected or see it.
Well,
the schizophrenic, for sure.
The schizophrenic is brought into the situation.
But he also had... No, he had been visiting the young girl beforehand. On his own because he knew. Yeah. And that's weird too. Like that's a statement that like people that maybe suffer from mental illness are actually seeing things that we're not seeing, and that's a scary thought in itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's always kind of a weird thought to me when they put in movies. Like if they do in The Prince of Darkness by Carpenter, is that the actual schizophrenics or the homeless people, which I have to assume that the ones that were affected by it were schizophrenics, were working on a completely different brain wave or something that other people, and they were affected or controlled by something that normal people could not feel or sense, which might be insulting to certain people, but it is a movie. But this one, like I said, it's the idea kind of explains why these people are terrified of everything, is because they're actually feeling things that other people aren't.
You know, it does leave things like unanswered, but not poorly unanswered.
You can answer them yourself.
Yeah.
Like what's a question you had?
Oh no, I mean like well, what happened to
the main guy?
The main guy, you know, he went missing. You know, like it because I think it opens up. It's like, you know, the director of these films is missing.
His house burned down.
His house burned down. His wife was found deceased.
All sorts of things.
Yeah, and then, you know, as it goes on, it explains what happened, but not necessarily to him. Like, it even ends with like, you know, he's still missing to this day. I mean, this is a fantastic movie. I think it's much better than what inspired it.
I think it's better than The Ring. I know people are gonna be like, what? I'm like,
I think it's better than The Ring.
I think it's better than it's scarier than The Ring for me.
'Cause, I mean,
and it's more timeless. I know people are gonna be like, whoa, nobody makes films like that. It looks like shit. And well, nobody fucking watches VHS either. So I mean, they're equally dated in time.
Right. I mean, you know, The Ring is all good and well and fun, but
I love The Ring, by the way.
Yeah. So. But you know, like, I think The Ring has a problem where it really jumbles its narrative. This doesn't.
Well, it has all the sequels that I think start to jumble its narrative.
That's true.
They have The Ring 2, and then they have the
like
Spiral.
Reboot.
They have two sequels that are direct sequels, but they go different ways, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Right. Well, even the original Ring, I think that it does kind of... It jumps to some pretty far conclusions, like the whole volcano thing, going to the different islands. It's like... But I mean, this Noroi is just... It's very self-contained, and it's just a fantastic watch, start to finish. There's no point in this, are you feeling bored or confused or, you know, like you left out of something. I'd give it, honestly, probably a 5 out of 5 for what it is.
First time viewing, I gave it, I had like a 9, but... I don't think there's anything much better than it in its genre, so I would probably go on a perfect rating. I would have no problem with that, to be honest. At least a 9.5. So definitely a contender for the top movie of 2005.
What else came out in 2005?
Devil's Rejects, Wolf Creek, The Descent.
Oh, The Descent's pretty good. No Pan's Labyrinth?
No, I think that's 2006.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's some good movies in 2005. So I haven't even watched a lot of the heavy hitters. It's the first heavy hitter I actually watched. So there's some other ones too that I'd like to revisit that I haven't watched in years. So yeah. Anyways, perfect movie, highly recommended. Get Shudder, by the way. There's four movies that I reviewed on this week besides Noroi that are on Shudder. So that's 5 of these like 14 movies I covered that are on Shudder, and all of them are worth watching. And this is probably the cream of the crop. So yeah.
The Eye of the Tiger.
Domo, アンガールズです。今日はですね、心霊スポットでありますとある神社に向かって大丈夫ですか、マリカさん。
いやー、ちょっとあっち。
それじゃあみんなで行こう。
今なんか聞こえてすごいたくさんいる気がする。
なんか見えんの？
いや、見えるわけじゃなくて。
その気持ち悪い声っていうのは
私は赤ちゃんの
赤ちゃんの
なんでそんな言い方ができる？
みんなにはね、投資をやってもらいます。
気がついたらその模様を描いちゃってるんですよ。
東京都練馬区にある広沼公園で
視察しました。
かぐたばの呪い。かぐたばってかぐたばことかぐたばとかぐたばってなんだ。
かぐたば？
呪い。さっきなんか映像がおかしくなったんですけど。
Okay, this is Blindspot. This is Jeremy's pick. This is Forbidden Planet. I don't remember what next week is. I'll put it here if it's for me, and I messed up. I dropped the ball. So, all right, we got it. It's going to be right there. So you picked Forbidden Planet because it's in the opening of Rocky Horror Picture Show and no other reason I could imagine. I do also pick Fantastic Planet and Forbidden World.
Because I didn't know which one was which.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was looking through this book to read Forbidden Planet earlier, and I saw Forbidden World, and I saw the rating on Forbidden World, and I immediately started laughing because Jeremy picked it, and it's obviously, objectively, going to be the worst movie, this whole Blindspot. So we have Forbidden Planet. This is
Forbidden Planet.
Yeah, this is obviously a classic. I had never seen it either. Has Robbie the Robot on it. The cover is very infamous. Anne Francis, and of course, the one, the only, Leslie goddamn Nielsen playing a straight role, which is so funny because Leslie Nielsen obviously went on to do the comedic roles in Airplane and Naked Gun and everything, and he became that kind of very stiff, playing it straight kind of parody guy. But Leslie Nielsen before that was always the kind of straight asshole or straight lace kind of guy. And even up until in Creepshow he's a little bit, but even in stuff like Day of the Animals, Leslie Nielsen and Prom Night, he was always that kind of character. So it's really nice to see him before any of that, before any little trace of it in here. So
when was Airplane and all that?
1980 was Airplane, but 82 was Creepshow, and 81 was Prom Night. So but then after Airplane, he started taking more roles like that, and after Naked Gun, he was solidified as that kind of character.
It's so weird because I've only ever seen him in the final season of Golden Girls as Dorothy's boyfriend, and then Mr. Magoo.
You never seen Creepshow?
Never seen Creepshow. I might have seen Creepshow.
You've seen Creepshow.
I don't remember it.
But anyway, he's kind of comedic in that, in a horrible, villainous way, which I love. But anyways, this one is pure science fiction.
Yeah.
It has a lot of ideas, which is funny. Like, the ideas are insane. They're basically in the future, they have figured out how to time travel or space travel.
Yeah.
Into different planets, and they get a distress signal, I think, or something like that. They're supposed to check up on this planet that hasn't had any communication for a long time.
Yeah, so they don't get a distress signal. They were sent to check on the status of a prior mission.
Kind of like Alien is a distress signal where they go, and Aliens is where they go to check the actual planet because they haven't heard from LV-17 or whatever the hell it is for years. So anyways, these guys are going to go there. They get communications, and they basically tell him, don't come here. Everything's good. I'm warning you, don't come here. And he's like, okay, but this sounds weird, so we're going to go check it out. They get there to this planet, and a robot approaches them in this kind of little vehicle, which is very, very much like the Star Wars Land Riders that they have and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's not they don't teleport like in Star Trek.
They do earlier though. It's very similar to Star Trek.
When they're about to enter into light speed, they turn into like beings of light to enter light speed. It's really weird.
This is very much a very this is way ahead of its time. I mean, this inspired Star Trek and Star Wars. You can tell. And it's funny because on the special features they have a documentary on here that has interviews with all the big science fiction directors, that I grew up watching, like George Lucas and Spielberg and James Cameron and Ridley Scott. And like all four of these guys were like the big premier science fiction, fantasy, adventure directors, and they're all talking about Fantastic Planet and obviously the inspirations they had. So this one is way ahead of its time.
So I mean, this is like the start of it.
One of them. You know what I mean? So they go to this planet. There's a robot, and pretty much the entire population's been wiped out. There's a doctor and his lovely daughter. All the guys are perverts and obsessed over her because they've been locked up for like a year with no women, so of course they're like lusting over her. And right away the scientist starts to talk about the technology they had on this planet and the previous inhabitants and all sorts of things. And right away I was like, I know what's happening. I picked up way early on it for some reason. I don't know why. And it's really weird to pick up on it because they spent so much time talking about the possibility of things happening. It's like, that's what's happening. But anyways, you talk about it. I've talked about it enough.
So what do I want to say?
The special effects are really cool.
Special effects are great.
Especially the creature.
I'm trying to think of the alien's name. Is it Krill? Krell?
It's not Kree, but it's damn close.
It's very close to it. And, so essentially, so they go, they check on the mission. The doctor's living a fantastic, fun life. The robot's doing his thing.
The robot is insane too.
They have the daughter who's kind of like this whole Eden thing going on. And once they start introducing the what the doctor had found, like he explains all of his people have been wiped out by the planet force, and it's no one knows what it is. It's just this force of energy that just kind of wiped them all out except for him, and his daughter, who might have been born already. The daughter's really weird to me.
Yeah, she's strange. Almost like we thought possibly the robot created her.
I thought maybe the robot made her, or if she was like a clone. Because the robot has this ability
to do anything.
To copy whatever's put into him. And I thought, based off the cover, and based off what they were explaining about the robot, that he took his deceased wife and put it in the robot.
Well, the cover makes you think the robot's evil, because it's like holding her like a Universal monster movie or something. Yes. Like it's the creature of Frankenstein or King Kong.
Right.
It's not going to let anyone have his woman because he's a robot and he deserves love too.
Right. He find out how to love. Yeah. They also imply that the robot might turn on them at some point because he introduces the whole gun thing.
The robot's the best character in the movie, by the way.
Oh, the robot's fantastic.
Him. I love Robbie the robot. And it says introducing Robbie the robot.
Who wins in a fight, Robbie or Box?
They don't know who Box is.
We did Logan's.
Oh, is that was his name?
Yeah, his name was Box.
Dude, that's what we had our name.
I know.
Which is really weird because I wrote that whole script about Box.
Right.
Which is really weird. But anyways, I didn't know his name was Box.
Yeah. So
Robbie versus Box. Box is evil though. Robbie's
Box is evil. Yeah. But no, Box is just kind of like a school cafeteria. He's like a lunch.
That turns the children into the fucking meals.
He got confused. Anyways, Robbie's fantastic. But yeah, so whatever we did with Robbie, what I thought was going to happen was not what happened.
Yeah, this goes places. Like, I assumed that this one thing was going to happen, but you don't exactly expect what is going to happen. The monster in the movie looks great. He's different. Right. He's like cell animation or something like that.
Yeah, so they were actually talking because on that documentary that they got Disney contracted their animators out to, is it MGM that did this?
Warner Brothers. Maybe it was MGM then, but Warner Brothers owns it now.
Okay.
That's kind of, I'm not 100%.
To animate that monster, and it really is just kind of like a cell-drawn, red, almost primate face.
Rage.
Yeah, it's because it's an invisible force, but it does leave footprints. It tears people apart.
Throws them,
eats them, whatever it does.
Whatever big ape angry thing does.
Right, and they kind of I don't think I want to spoil this one too much.
Yeah, we won't.
But eventually it gets resolved.
It does meander a bit in the scientific aspects where they'll like spend like literally 30 minutes of the movie where they're talking about like the idea of everything. It's a lot of like explaining and exposition and stuff like that.
But yeah,
too.
so there is this chunk. It's like a 30-minute chunk where he goes and he takes the captain and the ship's doctor on a tour of like the aliens like lab and how their society worked, what became of them. And all that stuff's really fun and fantastic. Like, you know, different special effects, different, like, insane drawings or sets. I don't know how you would explain them. Just these huge, massive, like, laboratories underground.
And Frances is super, like, sheltered.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, well, we have to kiss to see it. Like, and she has, like, she's so strange. Like, she's almost, been trained such different and taught different ways. Like, there's something weird about her character. But, I don't know. I did enjoy the movie. Like, and the doctor is super calm.
Yeah.
It doesn't ever show emotion, which is what plays directly into what, you know, is going on, which makes sense. Like, it's, you know, something internal. The cook is also kind of funny. He has a couple good lines.
Yeah.
He says, "This is the kind of place." What's that line with the tin can? Where you
Oh,
got
there's something to do here but throw rocks at tin cans, and we gotta supply our own tin cans.
Yeah, that's what he basically says. Yeah, there's a few people that get killed in here, and the ending is actually, you know, I liked how it ended. I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I think it ends beautifully. Leslie Nielsen does a fantastic job.
Yeah, Leslie's great, and it's so weird. Like I said, he's very straightforward.
Yeah. No, it's just a really fun to watch movie, and you know, it inspires so much going forward. That like when you're watching it, you know, because you know we've watched science fiction your whole life. Then you finally see this.
Yeah.
It's like
way ahead of its time. Inspired Star Wars, all those guys. Like I said, Alien too. Like I've seen a lot of Alien in there.
Yeah.
And those are the best. Like let's be honest. Like the big heavy hitters of those are like, as far as science fiction is concerned, it's like Spielberg, Lucas, Ridley Scott,
Right.
James Cameron. Those are the big guys. You know what I mean? Like from our time, at least.
Right.
Before, like our generation, after 70s, 80s, you know, that we grew up watching. So this is John Stanley's Creature Features, Forbidden Planet, 1956, 5 out of 5. Classic film science fiction set in AD 2200 on the planet Altar 2, where Earth's ship lands to contact Professor Morbius and his beautiful daughter Elta. Suddenly the ship is attacked by an invisible entity whose beast-like outline is only visible when it touches the vessel's force field shield. Nicholas Nafak's MGM production has overtones of whodunit thriller, what is this bizarre alien killer and where does it come from, and has outstanding technology from Robbie the Robot to the subterranean city of the long-dead Krell race to Morbius's futuristic home to the spacecraft and land cruisers. Spacemen Leslie Nielsen, Earl Holman, and Warren Stevens remain second bananas to the witty Robbie. Odd electronics score by Lewis and B.B. Barron, directed by Fred McLoy. Wilcox from a Cyril Hume script said to be inspired by Shakespeare's The Tempest. Also, man, the score is super weird. It's nuts. I don't think I've ever heard a score quite like it, to be honest.
I think it's like they got like 20 theremins and just
it's weird.
Did the score with that, and it does have that, and you know the score like. If you don't know what a theremin is, like once you know that noise, it's like
it's a weird score, like unsettling.
And I think I haven't seen anything. We have seen a few science fiction prior to this, but like that sound has always been like science fiction to me. That woo, you know,
it's almost like that's the sound you just did. Is almost like when everybody does. Oh, it's making spooky sounds. You know what I mean? That dumb thing that they do it in like every movie.
Right.
Yeah. It's in Monster Squad. I'll stay here and make spooky sounds. Does he do that sound? No, they do it in Night of the Creeps, which is another Fred Decker. He's like, ooh. I think the guy with the crutches does it. I don't know if that's exactly the sound, but the sound you made reminded me of that. Oh. Anyways, like I said, this movie's better than it's better historically and objectively than I would give it. You know what I mean? It's not really exactly. I thought it was a little too talky and a little bit slower than you know, but I still think it's a good movie. I'll give it a 4 out of 5, even though more like a 3.5 out of 5.
3.5 out of 5.
But I'll give it a 4.
A 4, really?
Yeah.
I give it a 5.
It's totally up your alley, though, and it's historically it's so ahead of its time. It's insane.
I mean, without this, we wouldn't have all the things you love.
We'd have Godzilla. Was Godzilla 58 or?
Yeah, Godzilla might have been. before. But Godzilla's different.
Godzilla's
Godzilla
way
don't count.
different. I'm trying to think of sci-fi movies that weren't inspired by this.
You know, I think any of those space exploration movies would be gone.
A lot of them. I don't think Alien would be like our Star Wars or Star Trek.
And yeah, he did mention The Tempest, and I will say that The Tempest is one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. And they actually they made a movie of The Tempest a few years ago.
In space?
Not in space.
Did they call it Tempest in Space?
No, it had Helen Mirren in it.
Yeah, I think did I see that?
Yeah,
I think I
we
did.
watched
Who
it.
was in that? Who are the goons? Who are the idiots?
Oh, it had
just like Alfred Molina. Was he in it?
Maybe. Who's that guy that's not Jack Black? That I always think is Jack Black, but it's not. He's like the pretty version. Russell Brand.
Russell Brand, pretty version. Russell Brand's so weird.
Russell Brand's like the pretty version of Jack Black. Am I wrong in this?
I don't know. Answer the question, guys. Anyways, I can't remember what next week is. I'll post earlier what it is, a little description. So, anyways, we're out of here. You?
Yeah, I don't care.
Imagine yourself as one of the crew of this faster-than-light spaceship of the future, sharing their curiosity to know the unknown, their tension, their readiness for inconceivable adventures.
Sir, we're being radar scanned. United Planets Cruiser C-57D, J.J. Adams commanding. Who are you?
Morbius of the Bellerophon.
Well, Dr. Morbius, my orders are to survey the situation on Altair 4.
Commander, if you set down on this planet, I warn you that I cannot be answerable for the safety of your ship or your crew.
When you reach the Forbidden Planet, you will meet Dr. Morbius, played by Walter Pidgeon. The Doctor is sole owner of this fabulous world. Anne Francis is his alluring daughter, Alta, who has never seen a young man till she meets Commander Adams, played by talented Leslie Nielsen.
Come on in.
Didn't bring my bathing suit.
What's a bathing suit?
Oh, murder.
You will meet a charming character in The Robot, able to produce, on order, 10 tons of lead or a slinky evening gown. Always at your service.
You must be the loveliest, softest thing you've ever made for me. And fit in all the right places, with lots and lots of star sapphires.
Star sapphires take a week to crystallize properly. Would diamond or emeralds do?
You explore all the wonders of a vanished civilization. You travel deep down into the heart of the Forbidden Planet to discover the incredible marvels of this lost genius race. These magnificent scenes in striking Eastman color stagger the imagination.
20 miles. Look down, gentlemen. Are you afraid? 7,800 levels.
Yet the wonders of the planet Altair 4 conceal a strange and evil force, unknown, irresistible.
Okay, let's get into these questions. Nick Mua, have you ever worked with animals for any acting or directing gigs? If so, what was the experience like? I think you think I'm like a professional real actor, and I'm not. You know, I mostly just do indie movies, and I haven't done any in a while. But when I directed the one movie, I tried to incorporate my parents' bulldog, but it just didn't really make any sense to put him in there. So yeah, I didn't. Would you ever want to work with rats, Willard style, or do those little creatures creep you out? Rats don't bother me. Most creatures don't bother me. I don't think I'd prefer to work with anything too small because I'd be afraid of smashing it on accident. I would really be leery about hurting a pet or animal or something like that. So, how far would you go to score more Instagram or Twitter followers? I would just ask people to follow me, and if they didn't, cool. It's about as far as I'd go. And questions. I basically asked you how far or meticulous you are with protecting your collection. And like I said, let me say this first and foremost. Basically, all I do is I keep them off in a locked off room. No smoking. No pets allowed in the room. I keep a dehumidifier in there, and I put them on shelves. I try not to stack them certain ways. I don't do the protectors, which I really should start, because think about it, like just pulling one off the shelf. You hear that? It like scrapes against it. And like if you look at certain light and everything, you'll see just like smudges. And now the cases can be replaced, but it would be a nightmare to replace, 10,000 cases. And some of the stuff with slip covers, it will get shelf wear, and it's like I really should, but I'm not a reseller. So at that point, I never realized I never did that. Although I feel very weird about it. Sometimes I'm like, I should put these in cases. I should put these in cases. Like, it just bothers me sometimes knowing that the shelfware, like this has barely been on the shelf, barely been moved, and you can literally see a tiny bit of shelfware on the side. And that drives me nuts. Like, I know it's stupid, and a lot of people will be like, some people are so meticulous about it, they go crazy. They'll be like, those are garbage, or they'll laugh in your face for saying that. It's so weird to me. So anyways, that's why I was kind of curious how far everyone else goes. So, Darren A., protectors are important for me. I actually sleeve the movies I have seen as a reminder I've watched them. I've tried to alphabetize my collection, but have been overwhelmed with the task. P.S. Cool video upload. Thank you. Nick Moore, like books, DVDs and Blu-rays are precious items, so they deserve to be protected for sure. Go as far as you deem necessary to keep them pristine and safe. As for me, I will put my digibook, Blu-rays, or special collector's editions in a protective sleeve. All my movies are closed behind doors, kept away from direct sunlight, and put on shelves so they're both high and dry. Me too. Direct sunlight, no light in there. Ken Coakley, I live in a tiny apartment, so I don't have closed-off room or climate control. I do separate the movies by genre and alphabetize them. I also use separate shelves for Scream Factory, Arrow, Severin, Vinegar Syndrome titles. Travis Lithscomb, I want to at least get protectors for all my Blu-rays with slip covers, and I have bought some from Vinegar Syndrome, but they are $2 each, and I need a lot more. I need to look into someplace to get a bulk protectors, but I don't know if they'll fit the same. John Soloway, you forgot one. Toddler proofing. Got to do that too. Samuel Glass Jr., just don't have the money or space for all that. I probably shouldn't still be collecting as much as I am either. Keith White Jr., sleeve protectors are important stuff for important stuff, and of course non-smoking. Yeah, non-smoking is a must. At least keep them off into a separated room, if that makes sense. Jason Michael Willard, I have a moat with alligators, seems to do the trick. Okay. Colin Stone, a majority of mine is in a cool room, no windows, but it still doesn't protect them. Lost Streak Show / Trims titles over 20 years old, so nothing is fail-safe in my opinion. He's right, nothing is. David Luton, I make sure I close the door to my film room so my cat doesn't leave any cat hairs on my viewing sofa, but that's it. Yep. I never let my pets in this room. I'm like, get out. I chase them away every time they're there. Jason Siegel, not lending them to anyone. I don't do that either anymore. Donald Plight, lifting them off the ground about a foot or so a cat doesn't piss on them. Lost 78 DVDs, mostly M, N, and P titles. On an unrelated note, have an original copy of Murder Set Pieces director's cut signed with slight odor and let's say water stains on it. Damn cat. I would have been irate. Never have my pets ever go business in the house, though. I never really had any accidents. JP Andrika, been thinking of moving my collection to all sleeves just to cut down on clutter. I wouldn't. Anyone recommend that? How'd it work out? I could never do that. Joseph Michael Conway, David Parker, you got everything but armed security. Who says I don't got that either? Shajin Barbarian, I hire armed gunmen to guard them as if my movies were the goddamn Queen of England. Michael Mattson, protectors on slipcovers and always out of the sunlight. Matthew Cantor, protectors on steelbooks pretty much. I have one window, but I took the curtain and pinned it down. Information, we have some comments. Tim Potapis, I saw the Willard remake in high school and it's the only movie I've seen in totally empty theater. It's fine. Sherlock and Glover is a singular actor, usually great and always weird. Disheveled by Dawn, great video. I want to see Cruel Jaws, but man, I just can't pay that much for it. Spree sounds fun. I love Glenn Morgan's Black Christmas. I like it better than the original. Crap, here come the thumbs down. But I have weird taste, so it's nice to hear that you enjoyed it. Yeah, I know people don't like it, but I just don't care. 81 Oak Ridge, I'm with you on Child's Play 3. Love that sequel. Love the death of the barber. Love the carnival and all the rides, etc. I definitely agree with Silence of the Lambs at 1. I like how they paid homage to Ted Bundy when he gets the senator's daughter to help him get the couch in the van. That's definitely a theme in a lot of these horror movies and serial killers. They definitely have a serial killer, have some real moments that actual serial killers have done in real life. He says, I would add a Double Impact, New Jack City, JFK, Point Break, Terminator 2, and Naked Lunch. Classic Cronenberg, great listen video. Yeah, those were all. I kind of wanted to keep it more horror-oriented, though. And moods, I love Roger England and Max Senator do carry. That's going to keep happening, I'm sure of it. So I guess we're going to hop into that update. Okay, let's hop into this update. First, I guess we're just going to start with this monstrosity, the Friday the 13th Collection, Deluxe Edition. Of course, I had to have it. How could I not? I'm not going to open it up and show everybody everything, because I'm sure there's a million people doing that right now. But yeah, it's got all 12 movies. I heard there's actually some problems with the thing, so we'll see. I know Shout Factory put a statement out there saying everything like that. But anyways, just super happy that the damn thing got a collector's edition. It's funny with all these problems on the disc. It's just like, man, Friday the 13th still not getting the respect from the big studios, because I guess they got like that stuff from Warner Brothers and Paramount, my friend told me. So, the stuff that's wrong with it. So that sucks. But yeah, anyways, glad it did get a release, and it'll be fixed eventually. So first we got Cloverfield on Blu-ray, 4K. It was dirt cheap. Have not seen this since the theaters. I remember liking this. A lot of people don't love it or whatever, but still. Then we have Love Hunter. This is for part of the Nakatsu Erotic Films collection, which sucks because they don't put the numbers on the side like they do the DVDs, because I know they're like, I hope they buy both of them. But it's probably what I'll end up having to do. This I got from the Secret Satan on 22 Shots. We did the gift exchange. Escape from LA, of course, a Scream Factory as well. I've not seen this since it came out. But, I'm a big John Carpenter fan, and I remember people hate this movie, but, it doesn't mean I'll hate it. Then we have April Fool's Day, which I hate this cover. This is an awful cover. I know people are like, don't complain about the cover, who cares, you're lucky it's on Blu-ray, and I am, and I can always reverse it. But it's in my face right now, and I'm looking at it, and I'm telling you, I don't like it. Anyways, haven't seen this movie in years, but everybody knows this, kind of an infamous slasher movie, very popular. Then we have Dead Heat. I could have swore this was going to get a new release for Vinegar Syndrome or Arrow or something. A lot of those Image ones got a re-release, but I was tired of waiting for it, so I have the DVD. I always like this movie. It's goofy and fun, enjoyable, stupid stuff. Dead Heat. Joe Piscopo and Treat Williams. My friend Zach loves Treat Williams. Can't get enough of him. Then we have Snow White, Tale of Terror with Sigourney Weaver and Sam Neill. I've never seen this one. I remember the VHS cover art in the video stores all the time, and I always wanted to read it. My mom was like, I don't think so. I don't know why she thought. I think she thought it was like a perverse Snow White or something. I don't know, like a bunch of nudity. You can rent Hellraiser, but not Snow White. The Faculty. I didn't have this on Blu-ray. Was happy to see it get a re-release, because for a while it was really expensive, and this is like, I'm not paying that, when it was $7 at one point. So anyways, The Faculty. Fun movie. Always liked it. Then we have X-Cross, or Cross-X. What is it? X-Cross from Tokyo Shock. Not seen this one. Basically the director of Battle Royale 2. So cool. Anyways, I think I had a DVD. It was very cheap, so I picked it up. Then we have another Tokyo Shock release, Lust of the Dead Terror Trilogy. These movies look really trashy. I had the first one, I think, on DVD, and I just never watched them. And they were AK Rape Zombie, and I was like, maybe I don't need to see these, so I didn't buy them. But they look so trashy. I don't know if these are any good or not. So, but this was the right price. But, yeah. And then we have from Dark Force, this is Redneck, Franco Neri and Telly Savalas, Mark Lester. Cool magnet on there. I've never seen this one. I always wanted to, because I love Telly Savalas. And with Franco Nero, that's going to be cool too. I love this. This is kind of crazy. This is out on Blu-ray. I've always wanted to see this movie. And this one, I think, was an accident. Oh, they sent this. This is Lialeh, or what is it? Lialeh. I don't know much about this. I ordered the double feature with Redneck and Death Rage, and they sent this. This is not released yet. So I was like, screw it. I'll just keep this one, not say anything about it, but it's really weird that this isn't even available for pre-order on their site, and I have one in my hands. I don't know if they sent this hoping that I would review it, but I bought it, so I will review it if they want me to, but it's just weird that, or maybe it was an accident. I don't know. Then we have Alpha City. What is this, that new label? I can't think of it. Geez, they'll say on the back, Fun City. It's from Fun City, which they put out another one as well. But anyways, yeah, I heard them talk about this on a podcast. This was from the Vinegar Syndrome website. Never seen this one. I think there was an old DVD. Looks cool. Looks cool. Heard good things. Then we have Limbo, which is the indie actress. Is it Debbie Rochon directed this one, or Tina Craze? I think it's Tina Craze. But this is from AGFA. And I think it is Tina Kraus, or Craze. I don't know how to say her name, but she's in a bunch of stuff. This looks super weird. I think it's SOV on Blu-ray, which is weird, but hell, why the hell not? Then we have Ninja Scroll on Blu-ray, was dirt cheap. This is a really cool movie, awesome anime. Covered this on the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast. Anyways, if you haven't seen this, highly recommended. Very good stuff. Then we have some DVDs. We have She-Cat from the Nikatsu Erotic Films collection. Not seen this, of course. Gonna make my way down a lot of these. Pinky weird movies. Female Teacher Hunting, of course, yes. The titles on some of these make you kind of put them on yourself, and if somebody walks in, they'd be reading them like, what is wrong with you? But then we have this Tomy collection, which I've heard about these Tomy movies for years and never seen them. I always wanted to, but this is a box set of the first 5. It's out of print. My luck is they'll get released on Blu-ray, but oh well. But there's the 5 movies in there. I got a pretty good price on it. I've seen it go for upwards of $100 or $150. But I paid $55 for it, so I don't know. Maybe somebody said I got ripped off, but it wasn't that much for the disc. And it looks like it's in pretty damn good collection. Somebody took care of this sucker. But anyways, yeah, that is Tomy collection, the first 5. Happy to have it. I'm going to put this over here so you'll be seeing it. I'll put it here. Then we have, what is this? Tomy 6 and 7, technically both from 2005 from Tokyo Shock. Tomy The Beginning and Tomy Revenge. 2-disc edition. Yeah. Look forward to checking these out as well. Like I said, I'm going to have to watch those. And then we have the Kazu Umezi's Horror Theater, 6 Dark Tales to Make You Cringe. See, I've been buying a lot more than I should lately. I need to start saving money again. But with doing the year 2005 and seeing all these movies I didn't have that I thought I had, I was like, I'm just going to buy some of these Tokyo Shock movies. So many titles. Then we have Witchboard, which is 2004, but still, got a good price on this. Being a new kid in school can be hell. Then we have Doll from Hell. Another Tokyo Shock. And we have Gun Crazy, double feature here. Gun Crazy Requiem for a Bodyguard and Gun Crazy Trader's Rhapsody. So, I don't know much about these. They look cool. Look fun. Man, I kind of miss Media Blasters when they were putting out bulk stuff like that. Heroic Duo, Hard Boiled and Hard Targets from Tartan Asia Extreme. Then we got Made with the slipcover because I am meticulous and crazy. And we got Sorum with the slipcover. So that's everything. Pretty big update. Next week will be much smaller. But yeah, back to the video. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching. And as always, have a good one.